Hello everyone, welcome to our Juventus Coaching YouTube channel. In this video, we will be going over 7v7 build-up in Zone 1, meaning our defensive third of the field. We start by highlighting three tactical concepts that we want to highlight to our team, both in the way we train and the way we break down building out of the back on the board or on the field for them. First concept that we go over is the width. So width meaning how we spread out on the field to make sure we are also spreading the opposition, spreading the press, to then finding the gaps to play through. The two key players that are involved in creating the width are the two wingers. Here on the board we see our formation in blue, two defenders, three midfielders, and our striker. So the wingers in this case are the players responsible for creating width. Usually that can be communicated with a pretty easy coaching point. An example of it can be heels on the line. So the players have a visual reference on the field that they have to put their heels on the line, and they have to stretch the field as wide as possible to create the width. If we're creating width, we have more chances and more ways to build out of the back and move the ball up the field. Second concept, we have depth. Depth is the distance between our last players and our first players in the back line and up top, up the field. So in this case, the depth can be considered from our defenders until our strikers. This is also depth, any distance on a vertical line on a soccer field. Let's look at two ways we can create depth. First, the defenders staying as far back as possible. And then we have our wingers and our midfielders that can start pretty high. In this way, they create distance for us to handle the space better. We start high so that we may take away defenders from the other team and give space to our defenders and our midfielders. Now, if these guys don't follow, all the better. We're going to be into open space, ready to receive and ready to get that ball and move it up the field. Another person that's key in creating depth, of course, is the striker, the number 9 up top. We don't want the striker to be right there because that is going to result in us being squeezed and in a really high press. So we want the striker starting high, dragging those defenders away. We want our wingers to starting high because, again, if they start low, and this can happen almost naturally, so it is important that the coach reminds the players in training and during the game to our wingers to start high. Otherwise, what ends up happening is that we are squeezed into our own defensive third. So we need wingers to start high, striker to start high, and even the midfielder, the center mid, to start high and create some space for themselves to then later play into. Okay, so we have covered the concept of width and depth. We also talked about the defenders. There's a specific reason why defenders are starting here almost at the goal line. We want them here because, as you can see, we have the build-out line, and most teams are going to start pressing right on top of the build-out line. This means that when our defender receives the ball, they're going to face pressure right away. So just to give you an image, imagine if our defenders are starting here and the ball comes to them, they will be faced with pressure right away. So them starting at the goal line as far back as they can, it buys them a few extra yards to deal with the press. And that can be a big difference. Okay, so we want to tell our defenders to start outside the box, so they're also getting some width in the outside channel, but we want them to start as deep as possible. Again, it gives them more time and more space to deal with the press. Let's move on to the third point, the passing angles. As we build out of the back and we have created width, we have created depth, now we need to turn on the way we move, the way we orient our body shape, and the way we create passing angles to move the ball up the field. The first passing angle that we will take a look at is the passing angle created by the winger and the center mid whenever a defender has the ball. So let's say the center back receives the ball, starts dribbling up the field. Now, if this winger takes off and this midfielder takes off, what will happen is that this center back will be isolated with no options and is going to have a difficult time playing that ball at their feet. So the way we create a passing angle is we drop in line almost with our opponent so that we are open for a diagonal pass, right? This is not going to allow this player to receive the ball because he's in their shadow, okay? He or she's in their shadow. So if this position doesn't allow them to receive, we move down the line until we have created the passing angle. And the same can apply to our center mid, right? So we have this diagonal passing angle and this diagonal passing angle, already two options to play out and move the ball up the field. All right, so I'm going to show you once again. Say ball starts from the keeper. We pass it out to the defender. Striker moves up. After this player has created depth, now they might want to check in, create the passing angle, check in, create the passing angle. Those two diagonal passing angles will allow the team and the players option to move the ball up the field. So as you can tell, these triangles become very important to form and teach and show to the players, because with those triangles, with the proper distance and the proper passing angles, the players and the team will have the tools to pass the ball out of the back and move it up the field. Without the formation of those triangles, it will be difficult for them. So make sure you highlight this relationship, defender, winger, center mid, defender, winger, center mid on the other side, even this relationship, defender, defender, center mid. If we highlight and show and work on the positional triangles, our teams will be well equipped to deal with any kind of press. The second kind of positional shape that we want to go over is the diamond. Let's say again the ball is out to our defender. If the other team is doing a good job covering our positional triangle, our number 9 comes into play. They check in, and now we have created a diamond shape. Let's go over why the diamond shape can be really functional. The diamond shape is functional because if the options out wide on the diagonal pass are covered, then we naturally have the space to play the ball through and give it to our striker to potentially turn and play into open space. If they're closing that pass in the middle, now we have the diagonal passing options to play out as well. Okay, so I'm going to show you once again. The reason why the creation of this diamond shape on the field is key is because if the diagonal passing angles are closed or marked, then we can play the vertical passing angle. All right, so this is the example on one side. If the ball goes to the other side, we can still create it with the opposite players on the other field. So the number 9 in the build-up play is the player responsible to create the top of the diamond. Okay? So again, if we highlight the positional triangle and the positional diamond our teams will already have two big tools to beat the press. If we reset the positions back to a goal kick, we will review our last point, which is the role of the goalkeeper. Here we see that the team is pressing in a 2-3-1, so our defenders will have a numerical advantage. When the press start to be higher, more intense, of course defenders shouldn't only look forward and forcing a pass forward. If that pass is not available, they can play back to our goalkeeper for our goalkeeper to distribute the ball on the other side of the field. The goalkeeper becomes the +1, the player that gives us the numerical advantage. And that can be a really good option, especially in cases of high press, and especially when we have players that can play well with their feet, even as goalkeepers. Now, sometimes we may also be faced with a press that is pretty much man-to-man, doesn't leave us a lot of options. This will happen. Teams will adapt to us playing out of the back, and gradually through the game, they will move more numbers up the field. Goal kick, again, they're behind the build-up line. We're going to create depth with our wingers. As the ball gets played, naturally, all our players will have someone on, right? This player is marked, and you can see all over the field. And again, this is where the goalkeeper comes into play because they are the free man. Last concept for higher level teams that are maybe U10s. If the coach wants to start introducing the third man principle, that is another way that another tool for us to build out of the back. And the third man principle is the simple concept of arriving to a free player through someone else. Let's say the ball from here, we're blocked, goes to the goalie. This player starts to mark the goalie. Goalie plays with the second man, the center mid, to then play to our defender, who's now free to move up the field, right? And that's why our center mid is really the key to be that player in the middle that receives and distributes to the free player. The striker can also function as that player. Say the ball is here. Striker can check, and then with the second man that is the striker, we can get to the third man, which is the winger, that can play into open space. Same thing, we play to the striker, wall pass for a midfielder, and we're out. Again, from a position where this player is now not able to receive because the passing angle is closed and this player finds themselves in this player's shadow, we can use someone else to get to this guy that is the third man. We're going to put our players back in their positions. And yeah, so this video covers building out of the back in 7v7. We have gone over width, depth, passing angles, the three main tactical concepts that we want to bring to our training session when we work on building out of the back. And we also want to make sure our players know visually what that means, both on the board and on the field. When we spoke about passing angles, we talked about the positional triangle and the positional diamond as two key shapes to achieve on the field in our defensive third to build out of the back and beat the press. Let us know if you have any questions or comments, and we will see you soon in another video.